wrestling fans, and more importantly, premier all-star wrestling fans. Joining me on a special strong style is the Spiral Lucas DeSilva. How are you, bud?
I'm good, sir. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me on.
Good to finally get you on. I
Hey,
think I
you
said that
waited a
on a
little bit to
show.
have me on. You waited a little
I
too long for my liking to have your Southeastern heavyweight champion on, but we got there eventually. We got there.
it's I tell people it's not that there's a line. A lot of times it's just how things line up, and I mentioned that on a few previous shows. And I was like, yeah, I finally have him on. He has told me a couple times he's wide open, he's ready whenever, and it finally lined up. So I'm glad to finally get you on.
Thank you.
Uh,
It's great to
because
be on. I've seen some of the episodes with some of the guys that I know and work with, and they always seemed like fun. So I'm happy to now be able to partake in it.
we try to a lot more fun than if you were behind here, because it would be a lot more fun for you than me on this mat back here.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Because for people who don't know, you have a pretty, or not a pretty, you have a vastly extensive background on the amateur mats. Do you not?
Yeah, I got started in amateur wrestling when I was 4, and I was very lucky to have a 232-12 high school record. I was lucky enough to win 3 state championships. I went to college and was an All-American in college, and now I'm getting ready to get back into the cycle for the U.S. Open next year to try and make one last push for the Olympics before my knees say, "Hey, yeah, we can't do this anymore, brother." Until my knees finally give out on me on the amateur side of things.
That is, because we struck up the conversation this week before this, when I talked to some of the Team USA people. A lot of them were doing the same thing. They were laser focused on the Olympic cycle and everything, but they were also like, yeah, I'm doing this as long as I can until the body or the mind decides to check out, and then I need to have something else to do, because it's once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, absolutely. Wrestling's one of those sports that if you do it compromise, you're really putting yourself in a bad spot.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, we just famously had John Cena say that when he felt that he was a step back from where he normally performed, it was time to go. So he stepped out before it got too bad like that. But we'll talk more about people that you could probably suplex over your head later.
Mm.
But of course, I have you on because you are going to be on the Premier All Star Card Alley Fight this weekend. But first, I want to dive into a lot of the amazing things you are doing with Scrappy Championship Wrestling. Kind of give everybody the brief synopsis of what Scrappy's all about, and we'll get into the big show coming up.
Yeah, Scrappy Championship Wrestling has always been a dream of mine to a certain extent. I would almost argue I got more into the running of a wrestling show than the actual being of a pro wrestler when I was younger, playing games like Extreme Warfare Revenge, SmackDown versus Raw, the old GM modes, and drafting my
Mm-hmm.
rosters and running shows. So once I started my company, Fat and Scrappy, and then as I got more into pro wrestling, and it just seemed like the natural progression. And I've always wanted to do things different. You ask anyone that has known me for an extended period of time, the phrase "marching to the beat of my own drum" is a bit of a understatement with me. And so we have 3 weight classes at Scrappy: the light, middle, and heavyweight championships. We just did in February. We had the first ever, as far as my knowledge, professional wrestling dual tournament, which took the amateur wrestling dual format and brought it to professional wrestling to a massive success. And we just did our first show in Elbert Scrap House, which was our clear record for attendance and gate, which I was super proud of, in an area that really has not been known as a wrestling town. And that to me is a testament to the group I've put around me. People like that, and this people will think this is a joke, but people like my mother and my fiance, who are my right and my left hand, so to speak, that they are so amazing and always willing to push and support what I do. Guys like John Johnson, I could say it for another 30 minutes naming the people who have helped me along the way. I feel like I'm going to miss people, so I'm not going to do that, other than specifically to John Johnson, who I don't know if I end up going through with Scrappy without him.
There you go. Somebody I have recently come across and have yet to meet in person, but I'm going to change that very, very soon. Heard a ton of stuff about that. Yeah, you're up in Elberton up there, up in Elbert. That's the Granite City, if I'm not mistaken. And
That's
you're
what it
right.
is.
it's a hotbed for like highly athletic things, but it's not really known for wrestling or professional wrestling in general up there. What kind of drew you to that area?
Well, so I've been running in Royston alongside the
Mhm.
Royston Dome, which a big shout out to Jonathan Feltner and the business side of the Royston Dome. They were so amazing. Once I came in and I brought to them the idea of not just wanting to be a wrestler, but running my own show, they were so helpful in helping me along that process of learning how to do that. But as with all things, if for growth, I needed my own space. And when I looked at the sport of professional wrestling, Elbert and Elbert County to me seemingly was a blind spot, in my opinion. You look,
Mhm.
it's a city and county with no pro sports and no college sports to speak of, but they support the hell out of their Blue Devils. If anyone's in the East Georgia area, you know if you go to Elbert for any sporting event, you're walking into a hostile environment. And that's what really drew me. What was the idea of you have this town that is feverish for their local sports. If you
Mhm.
bring a show there, it's blue collar. It's the type of people that usually are predispositioned to pro wrestling. It was a risk that I was very willing to take, and only because I found a fantastic partner in Albert in Bobby Brown Park. They have been to say that they are the perfect partner for a wrestling promotion. And none of you get an idea. No, that's mine. But they are amazing people there. Devin, Rebecca, and Brett, and the whole crew, just really, I can't, I couldn't have done it without them. And they really have the right mindset for being a partner to me.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't as far away as I am from there because at some point I do want to come check out a show, but through a previous shoot job, I used to deliver up in that area. That's why I know that area very well. And my shoot job at that point was about 2 hours from there, and I am about an hour from where that location was. So we're looking at about 3 hours for me to get
It's a
up
little
back
rough.
into the Granite City.
It's a
But
little rough.
um, I like that you have the three weight classes and the way that you define them. Like you make them completely different. Now it makes it to where all kinds of different scenarios can happen. But I definitely like the way you do the weight classes. I think it has a lot to do with your amateur background. But you
Oh,
mentioned the
absolutely.
duels. When you mentioned the duels, when I first heard that, I was listening to Tapped Out podcast. I didn't. I knew you had a show coming up, but I had not look to see when it was, and when they mentioned they're doing some kind of dual format, and I think it's based on. I knew I was about to get asked a bunch of questions by a bunch of people I knew that were gonna be in that area, and they're like, "So explain to me the dual format," and I was like, "Okay, a wrestling duel is like this. The way he's going to do it, he's going to put a pro wrestling twist on it, and it's going to be a similar format. But yeah, as far as I know, you're the only person to do it, and it came off great. It really popped. People enjoyed it. I'm sure people have copied it by now. Did we lose you? I think we lost him for a minute there. Let's see if we can get him back. See if we can figure out what's going on. Um,
Oh,
there he is.
mellow. Sorry, my phone overheated, which I've never had happen before. So that was a new thing.
Yeah,
Uh,
but now
sorry,
you're good.
as you were saying.
But I say the last thing I said was about the duels and that um, uh, people wanted me to describe them, and I said, okay, well, this is what a normal duel is. You're going to put a pro wrestling spin on it. You're going to make it your own. And not only did it come off just really great and really popped, but I'm pretty sure people are already trying to figure out how to do their own spin on it.
Oh, I've already had a couple of promoters, and I won't name them obviously for reasons, but I've had them message me and ask me, could they borrow it or could they twist it? And I've basically said saying to all of them, I don't know if it's as easy as plug and play. Because
Right.
what I'll say is genuinely, we have built a fan base that is willing to look into the amateur stuff and say, okay, we're going to try this and we're going to see what this is all about. And not to mention the roster that we've put together. I had expected people, and I'll be honest, I expected certain guys to somewhat phone it in.
Yeah.
But the crew I put together, they put everything they had into understanding the format and what each team's role really was in that. Each team kind of had their own sort of role, and it
Hmm.
worked out beautifully where by the end of the night the fans understood the scoring format, and they understood that, okay, so they drew, so this match coming up next is the most important match of the night because this really decides the duel in earnest. So it only built the drama for that last match of the night. I can't describe it. The way it worked out, I was hoping it went well. I could never have imagined how well. And that's why I'm very excited to announce, and this is a little further down the line, we will be doing our second dual tournament in August. We will be bringing the format back for another event in August.
Ooh. I was just about to say, could we see the dual format in the near future? But you beat me to the punch there.
It will.
That
I'm almost gonna throw it out there as it's going to be a 2 to 3 times a year thing. Once in the front half of the year and once usually on the summer back half of the year, just depending on the schedule. But
right.
that is the current plan is that August we will bring the dual format back with maybe a special little twist there. I'm not gonna show you all the cards I got in my hand just yet, but I'll at least show you. I'll show you what I got off the river. I'll show you that.
There you go. I'm not an ace reporter for nothing, and I also know when to keep my mouth shut too. So yeah, just just because I learned something doesn't mean I tell everybody about it. So you guys are just going to have to pay attention in the next couple months to all the media that Scrappy Championship Wrestling puts out, and maybe you'll learn the things that we'll discuss off air.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, we have you on because you have spent a considerable amount of time in Premier All Star Wrestling here recently. Had some just banger matches. Sometimes some to the outsiders, because sometimes when I can actually drag my friends to some of the amazing shows I go to, they look at me and one in particular was during your triple threat match when it was you versus Sal Renaro versus I believe DRP.
DRP was the
And
third.
they were familiar. They knew Sal a little bit. They knew you a little bit because they watched my show, and they knew DRP a lot because they go to a promotion he goes to a lot. And they literally turned to me and just went, "How's this going to work?" And I went, it's too late to go get snacks, but just sit back, relax, and watch what's about to happen. This is going to be fantastic." I said, "These are three people that, whether they've ever worked together before, it's going to work." And I mean, I don't know how you felt during that match, but it was a fun match to watch.
Oh, I enjoyed that match thoroughly. Sal Renaro, landmark of Georgia wrestling. So anytime I have the privilege to scrap with, it's always a learning experience, whether I end up on the winning end of that. DRP is a guy that I had seen at a couple of premieres and I had heard a lot about, obviously from Pro South and these different places, and
Mm-hmm.
just a fireball. So getting to work with him was also a very interesting challenge in terms of game planning for that match,
Yeah.
and then having to deal with not only you have DRP on one hand, who's one type of wrestler, you have Carl, who, God forbid, you have no clue he's going to do on any given night. So in that type of a situation, it was a really fun match. It was a pleasure to see that challenge through it and come out on the winning end.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, you've been a premier quite a bit here recently, including this weekend. We don't actually know. Your involvement has been announced, but it has not been announced to what extent you are listed on the card. I know you are not part of the three matches they have actually said so far. You never know. Card always subject to change, and there's always the chance that you could jump in on any of these groups that they are here, or they could be an injury. But what do you like about premiere shows, and what draws you to want to keep being a part of them?
For me, it's the environment, and you look up and down hard. Joe Black, Alexander Black, Eddie Howard, Scott Mason, AJ Black, Jacob Ashworth, Lethal Gaines, Justin McKenzie, Ace Haven, Sal Renaro, Nick Halen, Ashton Martin. You can go on and on. I could keep naming guys. That crew is such a unique group to be around and to compete against. And there's always being the shooter. I always want to be the best guy on every show I'm on. And when you're around those types of guys, it makes it such a fun challenge to try to top them and try to be that guy. And then the environment, the crowd there at Premiere is unlike any other in the state of Georgia or anywhere I've been around, whether it's in the Carolinas, Tennessee. The fans are just different in Premiere, and it's always fun to go there and see what interesting things I get told on my way to and from the ring.
Yeah, they are a creative bunch for sure. They have one of the most inventive vocabularies of any fan base of a show I go to.
I'm sure sometimes it's English, but it's inventive to say the least.
I think it's more American than English. I think would be how they might describe it. It's more American than English, and that's why sometimes it's hard to understand because in America we're known for making a bunch of rules and then just doing what we want to do.
I was gonna say that's a very interesting to describe that, but I don't know if you could have described it any better.
That's how you know I'm a local. Is I understand the people and the language, and that yeah, very much this part of the country they speak American. They do not speak English.
Yeah.
But is there somebody in Premiere that you have not got a chance to work with that you would want to in the future? I mean, not that we could influence the booker because just because he watches my shows and reads my articles, he does not come to me for booking advice, and that is why his shows are as good as they are.
Yeah.
But is there a couple people out there that maybe you've crossed paths with, and you just said, one day I want to stare across the ring from it?
There is a level of respect I have for Joe Black that I don't know if I can describe because of the wrestler and the worker and the person.
Mm-hmm.
I one day have the opportunity to step across the ring from him and see. This is again the shooter background. I am the same kid that walked up to Tom Brands and said, "I want to wrestle you Iowa style" as a freshman in high school, and I learned what that meant after I did it. But I still did it because that's the way I've been raised. I want to be the best. That means I have to, then I have to get my ass whipped by the best, and that is Joe Black to me. He is one of, if not the single best workers the state of Georgia has ever put out. I need to feel that. I need to see what that's like. Even if I'm not going to enjoy it for the next week after or longer, but it'll be worth the lesson I learned from that match.
Yeah, I stick by what I say. I've said in multiple articles, multiple shows. Nobody hits harder than Joe Black. Um, at a recent show, there was Robin Renegade gave it a pretty good run, but I think she's a distant third because Joe is number one and number two in the hardest hitter category by far.
Yeah, and the example I use is my fiance that show where him and Lev wrestled the first time before their last. And my wife, when I left the building, said to me that got really uncomfortable to watch at the end because
Yeah,
Joe, even 20 minutes into a match, he still hits you like he's fresh. It doesn't make sense. He's an
yeah.
so I would love one day to have the opportunity to mix it up with him.
I could definitely see that. That would be a matchup I would definitely want to watch. Um,
And a close
yeah, yeah.
opposite different reason is Ace Haven. He's so fast and so quick and so smart on his feet. I'd love to see myself having to try to King of the South.
I feel like we could make one or both of those happen. It might not necessarily be this promotion, but mm, I think there's other people watching that. Hey, I'm not saying beat Premiere to it, but I'm just saying, you could book it too. I think those would be fantastic. Those guys have both been in it forever, and it just amazes me that they still do it on the level they do it.
It's I don't get it. I've only recently started to delve more into the history of Georgia independent wrestling, and now seeing that Joe Black and Agave Gay Saban has been doing this for this long at this high of a level, and have not seen certain three-letter promotions
Yes.
reach them is insanity to me. Genuinely, I don't get it.
Yep. And that line gets longer every day of people that absolutely agree with both of us on that. But as we're finishing up here with the Spiiral, Lucas DeSilva, um, first off, is there anything else that you want to promote that we have not got into already?
Not directly, but I will continue to put over 4th of July show that we have announced for Summer Scrappy Bobby Brown. I know what promoter's going to say this person. Promoter talks that you don't want to miss this event. But I'm going to say this. This is going to be a festival. This is not just a wrestling show. We chose the 4th of July, so we are going to bring you a 4th of July experience. Live music, vendors, a fireworks display. This is not just a wrestling show. This is a event. And as a matter of fact, I'm here currently getting ready to meet with some local city council members of some surrounding cities. We are building this more as an event for East Georgia and even Western South Carolina. This is not just a wrestling. This is something different entirely. And it's a big undertaking, but me and you spoke a little bit off camera, and we will leave what we spoke about off camera there for the time being. But I always make poker references and card references for a reason, and I assure you, I'm an Italian guinea. That means I'm a shyster. There's always an ace up my sleeve. And I got a couple coming on this 4th of July show. And we'll leave it there. We've already announced Alex Kane, and the funniest part is, to me, I'm not sure that's the biggest ace up my sleeve. I'm not even sure. There is more to come. So I'm very excited for not only our June 14th show upcoming in Royston, Shot Heard Around the World 3 with the Scrappy Openweight Grand Prix, but the 4th of July show as well. Is both of those shows are shaping up to be absolute landmarks and tent poles for Scrappy.
Yep. And for people who aren't familiar with Alex Kane, that tells me that this might be the first show of mine you have ever watched. I've talked about him numerous times. Former champion of MLW. Yes, those people. He is the Suplex Assassin, and he is the leader of the Boumaye Fight Club. And if those things don't scare you enough, you should see him in person.
He is a hell of a competitor, and he's the type of guy that's going to come to Scrappy, make noise, and necessarily think this is going to be a one-off. There will be more of Alex Kane at Scrappy, as long as, if I have anything to say about him, we can continue to make it work along with his schedule. This is not a one-off assassin.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's enough reason to try to get to these shows. Just fantastic things you're doing, fantastic things you have done up to this point. Once again, Alley Fight from Premier All-Star Wrestling is at the Church Without Walls this Saturday, May the 30th. That is, I believe, doors at 6:30, bell time at 7:30. I implore you to get there early. I implore you to get your tickets early. That reminds me I need to send a text message when I get off of this so that I follow my own advice. I just remembered that. But Lucas DeSilva, it has been fantastic having you on. I know I won't have to tell you this, but don't feel like you need to be a stranger. You are welcome back anytime, whether you want to promote things or whether you want to talk about Kyle Dake's technique on how he beat Jordan Burroughs, or, we can get into all kinds of different stuff. I did ask him that in person, by the way. But,
don't offer an open phone to me, because then you'll never get me off.
Same goes for me. So, but it has been fantastic having you on. We will have you on again very, very soon, and we will leave you to your night so that you can go meet with those higher ups and make Scrappy even bigger.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
And we will see all of you guys later down the road. Thanks for tuning in to a special edition of Strong Style. I am Jeremy the Impact York. He is the Spiiral Lucas DeSilva, and we will see you guys next time. Deuces, gooses. Go watch wrestling.